Okay, hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If this is your first time, I'm Elsie, and this is
Tony,
okay. What are we talking about today, Tony?
today we're going to talk about something which affects us in many, many different ways. Young people, old people, and all in between, which is the subject of bigotry.
Yeah,
Bigots. What is a bigot? How does it affect us?
yeah.
Should they be banned from speaking?
Mm.
Who decides what is a bigot? So these are some of the things we're going to be talking about.
Yeah,
My particular interest in this
yeah,
was, I suppose, a logical one. The logical one being this: if you were to say, we don't want to listen to these people because they are, let's be offensive, for they're slow or they're stupid or they're old or they're fat or whatever, it would be most unpleasant, but at least you'd be stating your position honestly. There's no contradiction in what you're saying.
yeah,
But when you say, I'm not going to listen to a bigot, I'm not going to allow them to speak, even in the kind of venue which Elsie will cover just now, well, there's an inherent contradiction there. Because a bigot is somebody that will not listen or engage with another's point of view
yeah,
and doesn't wish them to have the right to speak at all. Well, when you stop somebody speaking on the basis that you accuse them of being a bigot, what are you actually doing? You're making
Yeah.
yourself into a mega bigot. That's why I said this is my sense of logic. It just doesn't compute at all how you can do this.
right.
So,
I mean, it does sound a little bit controversial, doesn't it? Because what would you say a bigot is really? What would be the definition of a bigot?
well, the definition of a bigot is okay on the basis that somebody who will not engage with the viewpoint of another, or who will deny the right of the other to put their viewpoint forward. So I don't have any problem with the definition of a bigot.
Yeah.
What I do have a problem with is with one group or class of person
Mm-hmm.
saying that we cannot listen to those people because they're bigots, because all of a sudden they're committing an act of judgment,
Yeah.
setting themselves up as arbiters as to what bigotry is and bigotry isn't,
Mm-hmm.
and using that as justification to silence the opposition. I feel that's an absolute sign of weakness, not a sign of strength.
Right.
If you wanted to show that your way of looking at things, your philosophy is stronger than the so-called bigots, the way to defeat them is to actually show how ridiculous or wrong their position is
Mm-hmm.
by reasoned, intelligent argument,
Yeah.
backed up by evidence wherever possible, not by shouting at them or by not letting them into the lecture hall.
Yeah. Do you think that the reason why people wouldn't give bigots a platform is because they just make engaging with them difficult? Like, have you tried to have an argument with someone who would like attack the person rather than like have an intellectual conversation with you? Like, you start having an argument with the person, and instead of the person putting across points, then the person starts saying, "Oh, you're ugly," and
Yeah.
that is why you that kind of thing. So, do you reckon that part of being a bigot, like, it's not because they don't want to hear them out, but it's just because of how they behave and the fact that they might not even give the other side a chance to express their views?
Okay, if that were the case, if that genuinely were the case,
Mhm.
there might be some justification for it.
Right.
But I don't think that is genuinely the case, because take now you're a current student, a master's student in
Yeah.
university. Okay, did you know that in the last few years, since I think 2017,
Yeah.
there's been approximately 600 deplatformings, rejection of speakers, whatever, at universities, which are supposed to be places where intelligent young people can engage with different ideas, different cultures,
Yeah.
and okay, they can become aware of them and draw their own conclusions.
Mhm.
Now, most people agree these days that Nazism was a repellent doctrine.
Yes.
Okay, so if there was somebody who held views like that, surely with the breadth of the opposition that we might be likely to mount,
Yes.
surely that person can be defeated by argument.
Yeah.
In fact, our
totally
side
makes sense.
becomes stronger then by defeating them in argument.
Yes.
But by locking that person out, all we're doing is we're saying your views are so terrible we can't even infect our ears with them. And we can't trust our fellow citizens or our fellow students
That they're intelligent enough.
that they're intelligent enough. We're sort of patronizing them, really.
Yeah.
Now, there might be a case for young children to say, okay, there's 3 and 4 year olds. We're certainly not going to allow them to be exposed to certain things because they haven't become experienced enough, knowledgeable enough to know what to reject, what to accept.
Yeah.
They might be deceived easily. Are we
Mhm.
really saying that about our university population?
Yeah.
All of them there with a clutch of A levels, even though they might be A stars, but they're still there,
Yeah.
highly intelligent people, and we can't let them join in the debate.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, when it comes to the university situation, I'm quite surprised that there are that many people being deplatformed in relation to just wanting to air their views. When it comes to people wanting to speak on certain topics in universities, do you think that the university not giving them the platform is only in relation to certain topics? Because I'm thinking about it in terms of, in my field of study alone, there are like different competing theories, and with every single professor that I've had lecturers,
Yeah.
they've had to have objective points of views, like, because there's so many competing theories and so many competing evidence and stuff like that, so they've just had to present that to us, and not, I mean, once in a while they would take a side and say, okay, this I think, like, in terms of feminism, this is
Right.
this is what should be done. But normally they would just present us with so many different views, like development views, and then it would just be your decision to decide, just decide
Yeah.
which one you side with. Well, that has been my experience so far. So I'm quite surprised to learn that, like, there's so many people being, like, sort of
Rejected, not allowed
yeah,
to
yeah,
speak, deplatformed.
So do you think it's
sorry.
just in relation to particular topics that they're or is it
Well,
just-
absolutely. As a broad brush, the description and the epithet far right
yeah
gets used to keep a lot of people out.
yeah
Now, far right is something that there's another phrase like bigot, which shouldn't be misused, if you like. Far right, we're looking at the one end of the spectrum, sort of people who believe in a master race,
yeah
people who believe in the suppression of other races, all the rest of it, say that is far right. Now, the fact that somebody has got conservative views does not justify them being labelled as far right.
yeah
But nonetheless, as I say, if anyone's got views which may be abhorrent, they should still be listened to, and their views basically shot down by better views, better evidence.
yeah
Why not? Especially, as I say, in the university context.
yeah
But as far as making judgments for who or who is not a bigot, I go back to the definition which I happily agree with, who won't engage with the views of another person. And if you do that, as I say, the people who are excluding the so-called bigots are committing a worse act of bigotry themselves because they're being doubly hypocritical.
yeah
They're not just saying we won't allow these people to speak, we don't want them to speak because they're bigots. Well, this is quite amazing because you're putting yourself in that position while complaining the others. Another example of that was objectivity. How many lecturers and professors will tell their classes there is no such thing as objective truth?
yeah
Okay? That's the view which many people hold. Everything is subjective. It's how you interpret it. This is like a postmodern view.
It is.
Okay.
I feel like that's how, like, the whole the whole system of society is just crumbling down,
Yeah.
because now there's no left is left and right is right.
Hang on, you're sure you might have said enough to got yourself deplatformed if you were going to be invited to speak at a university next week. This is the kind of madness that there is. I think they should.
Yeah.
A saying which I greatly admire from a person who held views totally different to mine. But the French philosopher Voltaire, who said that he vehemently disagreed with something that somebody else was promoting or saying,
Yeah.
he said, I would defend to the absolute death the right of that person to say it.
Yeah.
And that has absolute sense and wisdom in it.
Yeah.
And this is not from a sort of a canny Christian source. This is from Voltaire, a self-confessed atheist of the first order. God bless him.
Yeah.
But there we go. I think this accusation because you shut people up is just anything. If they could get away with using any other excuse other than that, they're wearing the wrong colour of shoes. I'm sure they would. And I'll be honest, in most cases, it certainly wouldn't be any more. How should you say? Factually based, in the sense of it might be more factually based, will ban you from speaking if you're wearing brown shoes or anything other than black, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
At least there's a fact there. The other is is a judgment which is poisoned by your own ideology.
Yeah.
And that's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
That's very dangerous. So I don't think that should be allowed. Now,
No.
at the risk of sounding like a bigot myself, I'm saying I don't think that should be allowed. I don't think it should be allowed by either left-wing or right-wing or Christian or atheist people to totally silence, if you like, the people who disagree with them.
Yeah.
What needs to be done, and by the way, I think you mentioned earlier on, the reasons people might reject someone who is nominally a bigot
Yeah.
is because they won't allow somebody else to.
Express
They
their
certainly
views.
will. Nobody goes to speak at a university who does not expect an open forum afterwards, question and answer time.
Yeah.
You tell me, when you, in your experience, you've ever had to have a visitor going in and delivering a lecture in total respectful silence, people give him the mandatory round of applause afterwards, and he just leaves peacefully. Especially if it's a controversial subject.
Yeah.
And of course, and it's right that it shouldn't happen in that scenario, that way. It should be that people engage with it. I mean, I'm saying it's a compliment to the speaker's speech, and it's also shows that the person has engaged.
Yeah.
They've engaged enough to disagree.
Yeah.
They know what they're disagreeing with, and they're presenting better arguments. So I'm definitely in favour of that.
Of everyone expressing. But yeah, I kind of I do get what you mean by this whole hypocrisy of saying, like, oh, we're a democratic society, and we I think the basic definition of democracy is for the government for the people,
by the people, for the people. Yeah.
By the people, and basically one of the main things is the people in society being able to air their views, and that is why someone can come on radio and talk about how rubbish the prime minister is. Not that I'm saying he's rubbish, but
That's
you
for
know,
instance.
without being arrested or anything.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of hypocritical, like you'd say, that we put across this kind of view of our society, and yet as soon as there's someone who holds opposite views to us, then we don't want to listen at all.
Yeah.
Then
and not just don't want to listen, we don't want anybody else to listen. That's really bad.
Yeah, that's.
I can understand. I don't want to listen. Okay, but I'm not going to allow you to speak because she might listen.
No, I mean.
And that's really. I mean, we're being. It sounds funny that we're putting it just now, but that is.
But that's exactly what's happening these days, isn't it? Yeah.
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 Oh my God. And I mean, I'm fired up about this and many other things, but this is a fundamental, because people can't make accurate judgments about all sorts of things in life, which way they should live their lives, what's important in life, whatever, unless you can't make any judgment or choice unless you have some real facts to base on. You mightn't get all the facts in one go, regardless of Google or ChatGPT, but you may have something to start with. But if that side is half of it is shut out from you completely, then
that's I mean, it's a bit insulting to like other people in in society in like somehow, because then you're trying to say, oh, you're not assertive enough
Yeah.
to make your own judgment from two people making an argument.
Yeah.
So we're protecting you and your entire family
Yeah.
from this poison that this person
That's right.
is going
We're
to
protecting you from that viewpoint and
Yeah.
making sure that we're inculcating our viewpoint into you, whether you like it
Yeah.
or not, for the simple reason that whether you like it or not, if we deny the other side the right to put that in, then
Mhm.
unfortunately the only one you have is yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Do you think that people who wouldn't give other people the platform, do you think it's because they think the values or the beliefs that they hold have no foundation, and that like as soon as they come head on with people who have actual arguments, that
Uh-huh.
their beliefs will crumble down? Do you think that could be a part of it, that they like like it's
Mhm.
like, if have you ever met someone who is like addicted to something,
Yeah.
and then you go like, oh, I think you're an alcoholic, and then the person gets all defensive.
That's right.
It's just like, no, I only take it when I'm smoking,
That's
or
right.
something like that, or like, oh, only when I'm stressed.
Only when I'm smoking, I smoke 30.
And I smoke,
For example.
smoke twice an hour. But yeah, do you reckon that? And I mean, to be fair, as human beings, there's some beliefs that we hold dear to our hearts, and they're so sensitive that we just like, sometimes you're too scared to like have an argument about it, because it's like, oh, what if the person actually says something that makes sense? And then like my whole belief system comes
That's right.
comes crumbling down. I feel like it's the same thing with boys and their mothers, because they believe that their mothers are like the best thing that's ever occurred on the earth. So there's nothing literally nothing that you can, on a lighter note, like say about their mothers that would, even if it was true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, do you think that these people who and it's usually people in power, because obviously if you didn't have power, then you wouldn't be able to say, oh, you don't don't
Oh
speak,
yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah.
Whether it's political power, social power, union power, whatever kind of power, that's right.
Mhm.
It's the ones with power who try to block the other side. And to what you said earlier, do you feel that the reason they do that is because their beliefs or what they were promoting would crumble
Yeah.
if it's exposed to rigorous analysis,
Yeah.
proper debate, searching questions? It really would. And that's why, because if they were absolutely convinced of their position being right and caring about truth and the good of humanity, and they profess to be concerned with, they'd say, fine, we'll bring it on. Let's examine this. It's not a problem. But no, unfortunately, it's the processes have been captured by ideologues, and just now it's the left is in the ascendant, the far left, to use the term, in terms of trying to censor. That's the word, censor. It's a dirty word in many cases. We seem to have got rid of it for so many different applications, but censoring is what they're doing. Absolutely censoring people. Now, funny enough, the Catholic Church got criticised, and has been criticised for many, many years, over something they call the index. Have you heard of the index?
No.
Yeah, well, literally, this is something that existed. An index of books which it was forbidden for a Catholic to read.
Oh, I think I've heard about it in passing.
Yeah. Now, you think, well, gosh, they actually forbade people to read certain books. Yes. And they forbade people to read certain books because the thinking was some of these books present ideas which are, if they're taken out of context or without a sufficiently well understood, robust balance to that. The person could be totally convinced by that. Just as, for example, how people are taken in by scammers now in a different context. Something looks totally convincing, there's no evidence against it, fine, I accept that.
Yeah.
So anyway, the church did that. It didn't work long term, permanently, because obviously people get and will form their own judgments.
Yeah.
But so that kind of censorship, if you like,
Yeah.
can come from any quarter, but just now it's certainly coming more from the left. I haven't heard of any people being rejected or deplatformed because they hold left-wing views, and there's a right-wing university has not allowed them to speak. No, the other way around. But the right-wing people would welcome the person, the atheist or the left-winger or whatever, to come and to basically
Air their views.
air their views and then rebut them, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think would be like a solution to this whole, I'd say, confusion or hypocrisy? What do you think would what do you think would be a solution to that?
Oh my gosh. How long have we got? No, I was going to say the sad thing is there is no instant solution.
No.
What you see? What is needed? Okay, what would be needed would be for people to have a sufficient respect for each other that they want to let others know the facts of any particular thing, the facts for, the facts against, whatever. To take the whole thing, a sufficient, as I say, respect for others to learn that. Also, respect for truth.
Yeah.
Rather than this is convenient for me to promote because this fits in with my worldview of my ideology. Is this real? If this is real, then yes, it's good for people to know about it. If it's not real, do I really want people to believe it even if it's not real?
Yeah.
And really, that's the situation we have. Now, I mean, we can't blame everything on the modern era because it happens so many times through history, kinds of censorship.
Yeah.
And people being annoyed. I think you said about if you not exactly make a fuss, if you try and stand up for your point of view when everyone else is against you, it's not easy.
No,
Or you say something which seems to be unpopular. And long ago in history, the saying evolved. It's sort of, you shouldn't shoot the messenger. The person who brings the message, he's only informing you about what is the case,
Yeah.
the news of the battle, the news of whatever. He didn't influence it. He's not a bad person. So what's the excuse for hitting him, killing him, or whatever, you know? And we're doing that kind of thing in our world all the time now, you know?
Yeah.
Someone is saying something which is unpopular, which we don't particularly want to engage with. So what's our solution? Shut the person up. And to justify shutting them up, we label them. They're a fool, they're a bigot, they're a bad person, they're a this and that, the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Far right, far left, whatever label, anything at all. Because otherwise you'd have to say, well, hang on, we've ignored a perfectly decent person bringing us perfectly valid news or views about a particular topic.
Yeah.
Now, it's very hard to admit that I'm that kind of person who try and shut another genuine human being up from sharing that.
But it's easier to
But once
shut them up when you label them.
Once I've
something.
labelled them and made them into something horrible, then of course it's like they're poisonous, they're infectious. We don't want you to spread. Of course, it makes quite sense. If someone is carrying an infectious disease, we don't want that to spread.
Yeah.
You know? So there we go.
Okay,
Well,
guys.
I think
this is a good point to end on.
Yeah.
If you've watched to this point, I'm just guessing that you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So kindly like, comment, subscribe.
Share.
And until next time, it's bye for now.
Bye.
If you like this video, kindly like, comment, and subscribe. You can also find us on other social media platforms, on Twitter at Talk with Tony and on Instagram at talkwithtony.live. Don't forget, live, laugh, and most importantly, love. Watch out for the next video. It's bye for now.